Good evening, Power fans, and welcome to our first ever podcast, Power Talk. I'm Brooke, your host. I'm also here with Francis. He's a co-host. We're going to be getting into the conversation about a couple topics revolving around the Mississauga Power, your team, and I'm just going to play you guys our intro. Here it goes.
By the power of Grayskull.
He does have the power.
That's very fun. Okay, so there's our intro. I'm going to actually just get into a little bit about this podcast. So this is called Power Talk. This is our first episode ever. And mainly we're just going to discuss the Mississauga Power thus far and just a few things revolving around it. So if anyone's not familiar with the Mississauga Power, this is currently our first season in Mississauga. Very exciting. Our third in the NBL. We were the pioneers. We started as the Oshawa Power, and we basically did what the OKC did. We basically wanted like a team that would move over to a different city, and that's what we did. So we're excited to be here in Mississauga. This is our first season. It's been pretty good so far. And I think that's pretty much it for the intro. We're going to actually get into the discussion right now. And I think the big thing is our hypothetical in the playoffs, because we only have a few games left. We have 3 at home. So after these games are done, we're going to be in the playoffs, and we're going to be facing off against a fairly good team. So we just need to go over kind of like our likelihood of how we would do in playoff contention. Not only that, but to also add how we would fare against the wildcard seed. So we're going to be facing off against the Ottawa Skyhawks for one game. So I want to go over our record against the Skyhawks. We're 1-5 against the Skyhawks. So of the 6 times we've played against the Skyhawks, we've played them a lot. 6 times we played against the Skyhawks, we won once. But, you know, a lot of our games that we didn't win, I've watched 2 so far. Myself, we were within a very close point margin. So, like, there's a lot to consider that, you know, we could probably beat the Skyhawks. And especially since we have a newer team, you know, there's a lot of adjustments we had to make as a team as well, just to have a little bit more of a cohesiveness about the way we played. So I really want to run through a stat sheet from last game against the Skyhawks, because that's a big important thing that I actually went over and I found to be pretty significant. Points in paint were huge. I mean, defensive boards off the glass were huge. Morgan Lewis, did you watch the live stream, right, Francis? Morgan Lewis, he owned the glass, right? He got 12 boards, 27 points. Shout out to Morgan Lewis. That was a great game. But
yeah, Morgan Lewis has been on fire the last couple of games too, winning Player of the Week honors and dropping 37 points, been averaging 27 the last 4 or 5 games. So hopefully it keeps us up and he brings us into the playoffs for the team.
Yeah, grab a stick and marshmallow, guys. He's on fire. Okay, but we need to talk outside shooting though, because this was, I think, really our worst night for outside shooting, and this is just. You know, I'm looking at, you can just look at it right here. I mean, like, the opportunities that we had from outside. And, you know, I wish I had, you know, when you see these more sophisticated technologies, they do, like, the shot chart of the players, and they show, like, a color to indicate, like, how well they are. You know, we would be like, you know how Rudy Gay didn't want to have stat sheets in the change room after his game because he was shooting so purely. I think he had, like, you know, 30 attempts, and, you know, he had about 8 he made. And, you know, and not to say that this is going to go ongoing, because, like, our outside shooting is generally good. I mean, you go, just run through some of these games. Like, we were 45, right? We were 45 against the Mill Rats. So, like, this was just obviously a cold night for us. We just couldn't get it to go. And it was weird because the Skyhawks really just capitalized off the outside shooting. But I'm really proud of our points in the paint, because I think that's a big thing to note is, you know, if we're getting easy chances, then why don't we go for it? We had 60 points in the point. 60 points 60 points in the paint of our 89, right? And, you know, I saw a lot of production coming from Lewis in the paint, so that's always a good thing, and you want those high percentage shots. However, you know, if we have a team that's going to collapse when we get inside, then we want to depend on kicking it to our perimeter shooters. The same way you see the Raps right now. I mean, that's why they're getting these good looks. That's why Ross is just knocking it down. So I think versus the Skyhawks, if I really were to say it, I would say, yeah, we do have some potential. I mean, what's your opinion, Francis, if we do get wild carded
And yeah,
versus the
being
Skyhawks?
playing the team that's one standing spot ahead of us, there's definitely a very good chance that we pull this off and go on and play the number one seed. I mean, if you just look at the past few times we played the Skyhawks, they've all been close games. The first time we played the Skyhawks, we lost 92-95, just 3 points. Next time we played them, we lost 97-101. After that, we finally beat them 111-108. So these have all been close games. It's not like the Skyhawks have been blowing us out by 20 points.
Yeah.
It's a pretty even matchup, and there's definitely a very high chance now that the team has time to gel. We've got new faces on the team, guys like George Williams and David Seegers. They can definitely change up the look, and the Skyhawks may not be ready for that.
Yes. Now, I don't want to say his name wrong, but we would like to welcome back a new addition to the team. He played versus the Skyhawks last night, had 9 points. The Rocket.
The Rocket Man, Juche Rocket.
Juche Rockets, yeah.
So, Juche was the leading rebounder for us last year, and was a third on the team in scoring, and he's finally back. Played his first game with us last game. Had 9 points and 5 rebounds, I believe.
9 points, yeah, you're correct. Was just a little bit outside 50% for shooting. So the guy came in, he made some noise. He didn't,
Definitely a solid
hit the
debut.
ground running.
Not what we're used to seeing from Juche. We're used to seeing the 16 point, 10 rebound games, but definitely a good start for a guy that hasn't played in almost a year.
Good start. That's a heck of a good start for a guy who hasn't played in over a year. That's phenomenal. So yeah, that's great production from him. So like, I just really want to get it forward. Like, we have a lot of guys that came and left. Like, we had a lot of players. So with this new team, I think if we do see some good inside development, then our outside shooting, that was problem that last game. If that was being held together, then I think we could have really gotten that win against the Skyhawks. They got in a little bit of a tear. If you guys were watching in the third, there was a time when they were about as high as 20, and then we kept it together. And throughout the whole game, we basically kept the game within like a 10-point margin. So we were still in the game the whole time. But it came down to the fact that we just couldn't get it together on outside shooting, and then the turnovers weren't the best. We had 16 in that game, so that wasn't anything to really be too happy about. And turnovers, I would say, Francis, turnovers have been a problem. As I run through these games. Also, that we're second. We're the second highest in points allowed. We're 104 in points allowed.
Which doesn't surprise me. I mean, I've watched all the Power games, and the defense is one of the hardest parts for a new team to gel when you have so many new faces. People are missing assignments. People aren't helping at the right times because they don't know each other yet. But as the team continues to play together, if they have the right number of games under their belt, that's when the defense will start improving. And these guys, they all have great offensive talent. So once the defense starts clicking, then this team really gets deadly.
And yeah, the Deadlies. I think this could be a Miami Heat team if the defense clicks. I mean, transition points are always a big thing. Ottawa got great points off of our turnovers. They got great points after going to the free throw line a lot and being fouled. Just to go over some of the actual points where they're coming from. I think that's a really important assessment because we can really go in what we're missing. And when you see some games, you'll notice that sometimes the defense and I see sometimes the Jeremy Lin passes, these really kind of like gambling passes when they're trying to hit a guy, and sometimes that can lead to an easy turnover. You see a lot of some of the stuff that you would like to see some of just more of like a cleaner game about them, And so when I was watching that game and I saw the turnovers, I really just said it's kind of like how your dad reminds you. It's kind of like, well, the turnovers are probably coming from some of these passes, and some of that stuff happened. So I was kind of happy about the fact that we kept in that game, and it would have been nice to see that W, especially in an away game versus the Skyhawks, Canadian Tire Center. Yeah,
since it's probably pretty much a guaranteed at this point first round matchup for the team. You definitely want to see the guys get that W, but we'll get another chance this coming Sunday when we'll be back in Ottawa playing them again.
This coming Sunday, yeah, it's going down. I think we should get this win because if we just do a lot of shooting, I hope they do a lot of shooting practice. They're gonna be drilling those threes in the next game, and I think everything should work out. I wish the Canadian Tire Center is going to be full capacity in that road trip too. I wish full 20,000 people come out, and it would be really nice to silence the crowd with the W.
Which
the
we
Skyhawks.
Something we saw that when the first game in London, that whole crowd was about 5,000, 6,000 people there in that first game in London, and our guys pulled out that big 2-point win at the Budweiser Garden. So that set us off on a good note to start the season. Fortunately, we haven't been back there since.
Yeah, that was a fun game. That was probably a very big upset, the ceremony and everything like that, and basically oh yeah, we're gonna win this game, and oh man, just kind of came around. So next topic of discussion, the hypothetical of the playoffs. That could be either or. I just wanted to give you a little food for thought, Francis, for the both of us. So we're struggling. We're 9 wins, 26 losses. But we've beaten the top 3 teams in the league. We've beaten the Brampton Ace, right? You saw that in the school day game. That was a pretty big win margin as well.
First time we beat Brampton, about time.
We've beaten the Windsor Express. And we've beaten the London Lightning. So I don't know, are we a young team that we smell blood in the water against some of these teams, so we can go off and score on these teams? Is this an indication that we could see a good production and good, basically contention against some of these teams if we were to go against them maybe even next season? If we're beating these teams.
I mean, most definitely, you see the potential in these wins. Once the guys buckle down, focus on defense, then they can really beat anyone. There's just so much firepower on the Power when everyone's clicking. They don't turn the ball over and play defense. Really, you can beat any team. It's just about getting consistent and being able to have these kind of efforts day in and day out rather than only showing up one every 5 games.
But who would you like to see better defense from?
It's not any one player in particular, but it's just a team defense. The guys need to focus more on having that help defense come when it's at the right time. Making sure you grab all those rebounds. Offensive rebounds have been a problem for the guys as well. And it's just making sure that we grab every rebound so the teams don't get.
Yeah, I'm seeing. You know what? I'm
shots.
seeing a lot. We don't get. These are crazy numbers. It's like a 4-to-1 ratio on how many boards we get. We generally get a lot of defensive boards. We get a shot misses, boom off the rim. Oh, Morgan Lewis grabs it or somebody else grabs it. They get a rebound. Second chance attempt seems to be our big thing. So why do you think we struggle so much in the offensive boards? What's going on there?
It might just be we're pretty thin up front. A lot of our with the trade of Dwight McCombs and the release of Charles Okwandu, now we basically only have Daryl McCoy and Seamus Ferguson playing at the front there, and I guess that just made once the guys get tired, they have trouble boxing out. It just makes it a little harder for them to rebound. But having Juche Rocket back should definitely help alleviate some of those issues. And when Daryl and Seamus are fresh, they're definitely one of those. They're one of the best rebounders in the league. They should be anyway.
Just looking at our board leaders right now, Seamus had a big board night, and I totally agree. We're we got the Dwayne Wade players. We got a lot of board crashers. I think that's kind of it's also a big thing, boxing out. How many times do you play basketball even with your friends, and the fundamental of boxing out. That's such a big thing, and you would like to see a bigger 6'11" guy who's 280, but who can grab boards. Even on Millrats, there was a big guy up there. I think he was grabbing a lot of boards versus us, and we still struggle in the offensive boards versus the Millrats. So I think that's a big thing to actually go over. And you don't blame some of these players as well. If you're not a bigger guy, it's really hard to sometimes grab some of these boards and to really box out against some of these players.
Yeah, and I just want to add and Morgan Lewis has done a phenomenal job. Not only has he been scoring these last few games, he's been grabbing those boards as well. Last game against Ottawa he had 12. The game before that at St. John he had 10. He had 9 boards against that one in Brampton on the school day game. So he's really been doing his job and grabbing those rebounds also. He's averaging 7 boards per game at the shooting guard position, which is pretty impressive.
which is pretty awesome. But that goes to show those 7 boards, they're probably a lot of offensive boards because he's crashing the boards. Good for him, but we're not seeing guys, get some of the weak-sided boards probably off of their offensive shot. They're not getting those defensive boards. They're probably mainly coming offensively. I look though, second chance points, teams aren't really getting the second chance points, which is a good thing. And I've seen, when I'm seeing these games, I'm also seeing, in the paint, I think there's too much fouling going on. And I do see that a lot, So, they can get nervous on defense. And I think that's what happened even in last game. They got nervous on defense and they started fouling a lot. I mean, I think even Alex Johnson packed up at least 4 fouls or something. I don't think he's really a foul-happy player. We had fouls all over the board. Johnson had 4.
Yeah, you're right, Johnson. 4.
McCoy had 5. George had 5. I mean, we had 5 travel, and Morgan fouled out. This is the Mill Rats. This is not last night's game. So foul trouble seems to be a consistent thing among us because I think we're getting nervous defensively. That's my way of putting it.
Yeah, and you might be right. So it's not something I've noticed before, but yeah, definitely the guys look like they're racking up the foul counts, which definitely doesn't do us any favors.
Skyhawks points off of turnovers 23. You go over to the Mill Rats, points off turnovers 15. Okay, not so bad. But these turnovers, that's if you're losing by a significantly small margin, and that says a lot if your team's actually, giving up that much points. That's a big turnover amount. I mean, not to say that these other teams aren't getting a lot of turnovers, but I think if that was to be put together, I think that would definitely just, heal some of the problems we've been having against some of these teams, especially in the past. I mean, consider the past 2 games. We lost by 5 against the Mill Rats. That was a close game. I was hoping that was going to be a nail-biter. I was really hoping we were going to put up some big threes and get in that game, but stuff happens, and then, 11 points. I mean, if that really happens, we can really just polish a lot up and be a lot of a more productive team, So.
Yeah, and I mean, that game against the Mill Rats,
sure.
it was a nail-biter. I mean, the Power were up. They had a great first quarter, a great third quarter, not so great second quarter, but
No.
it was anyone's game in the fourth. The guys were going back and forth, and unfortunately the Mill Rats managed to score just a couple more points to take that win.
So what do you like to envision for this team? Do you want a guy who just carries the team on his shoulders in a way every night? We don't necessarily have that. We're really kind of even throughout the board if you look at our scores. I mean, Lewis has been having crazy big games. We're going to go over Lewis in a little bit, but we have this kind of even Steven type team.
Which I think it's good for the team. I mean, you look at the like you were saying, the Raptors team right now. They don't really have that one go-to guy. Maybe they have DeMar DeRozan, but mainly it's just one guy who's a little bit better than everyone else, and then when everyone else is at an even level, you kind of have more teamwork, and the guys work together a little more. If the offense flows a little more smoothly.
But the fans don't want to see teamwork, Francis. The fans want to see the Kevin Durant drop 45. That's what the fans want.
And that's what Morgan Lewis is good for.
They want the Michael Jordan. They want, Morgan Lewis. I want him to keep this streak going. By the way, so we wanted his streak to go to 3 games of double doubles, and hopefully that'll happen. He had 27 and 12 last game, so I'm hoping this next game he's going to rack down a double double. I think he'll do it like it's his job. I mean, second half he already had a near double double. He had 9 points, 8 boards. Right, so this guy's just playing phenomenal. So he's just going to keep it going. School day game, 37 points. You can look at some of his highlights on YouTube. He's got one of the game where he drops 40, 39 or 40, and the highlights are they're great. I mean, the guy can ball. So going on to another topic, we're going to bring up Morgan Lewis. What's going to happen with Morgan Lewis, say, if we get the wild card spot? Is he going to just keep going and try to get another 30, 40, is he going to try to keep going at teams? Is he sending us a message that he really just wants this win and he wants to get in the playoffs?
I mean, I hope so. Since the trade of Nick Corey and now the recent trade of Dwight McCombs, Morgan Lewis has really become the number one option on offense, and he's really done a great job filling in for those guys, and he's really shown that he has potential to be that one superstar player that you can rely on in the late games and throughout the game.
Mainly, what do you think? How has he done a good job?
He's been doing a bit of everything. I mean, you look at that St. John game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say he only scored 22 points, but he had 22 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, nearing a triple double. So he's been doing a bit of
LeBron
everything.
numbers right there. LeBron numbers.
He's been able to, and not only that, he's the guy who throws down that energizing dunk for you guys. Could be down 10 points, and Morgan Lewis goes, dunks on someone, and all of a sudden the team's right back in it.
Okay, I have a bit of beef with this guy. Lewis, you're going 1-5 from 3 versus the A's. Okay? You're going 2-6 versus the Mill Rats. And then you're going 0-4 versus the Skyhawks. You don't need to shoot the 3 all the time, Lewis. I mean, get it in the paint a little bit more, get a little bit more production in that area. He likes the 3. The guy likes the 3.
Yeah, it's not. From watching the games, he doesn't seem like he's taking terrible shots.
I would agree.
He's taking those threes in rhythm, and he's open most of the time. So they just haven't been dropping for him those shots. But despite that, still managed to throw up 27 points, 22 points. So if that 3 starts dropping for him, we can only expect more out of Morgan Lewis.
And not to worry, folks, because we're getting 35, 40 offensive boards a night. So if someone's boarding those 3s easy. I guess people are getting the weak side. Probably even Joseph's getting about 5 boards a game. So, Lewis, this is the thing. This is what I want to see. Okay, this is my own little perfect world for the Mississauga Power. I want to see Lewis to put down at least 20-something a game. And I want just him to get the offense, the motion of the team going, and for us to capitalize a little bit more off of turnovers as a team. If we work better as a defensive unit, if we stop panicking on defense and getting these kind of fouls, because this was the night of free throws for the Skyhawks. If you really look over the score sheet, they had a phenomenal amount of free throws. That's just what I went over. It's because the free throws are so much bigger. They had 13 up above us just in free throws, and then not to go over just some of the other points that we just weren't getting to go off of turnovers that they were. There was a 13-point difference in the points off turnovers they also got as well. So that just gives you a sign that there's something wrong in the defensive side of things. So I would actually want to see a Lewis go off and get 20 points, something amount of points, and I think it would be easy for him to do that. And I would like to see him to kind of have his team on his shoulders. Because I really like to see a score. And then if you're really going to talk about team defense, then what happens when you have a score on the board? If we have a guy that we're trying to get the ball to, if we're really going to feed him for some shots, what's going to happen? Well, now the defense is going to be really focused on D'ing up a guy, maybe doubling up on a guy who's going to look to score.
Yeah, most definitely. That gives the chance for the shooters, George Williams, Dinjin Moses, gives them a chance to get those open looks, and Alex Johnson can now drive into the lane. You give everyone else easier pass to the basket.
Okay, now I also want to go over, is the NBL league of guards? Generally when you see these guys, it was all about Crouch last game. He had 28 points on us versus the Power. You think we struggle defending guards? Just coming from other games as well? Because, I've noticed this in some of these other games. These guys just, they kind of go on a tear against us.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen too, those quick guards that can shoot well seem to give the Power a lot of problems. I don't even know the reason behind it, but it just seems like Evaldo Sabas, I watched him play. He just gets open 3 after open 3, and it's just we just have to D up and make sure you don't let these guards blow by, and if they do, you have the big guy there waiting to contest a shot.
As a fan of a team, too, it's the worst feeling. It's just nails on a chalkboard when you watch an easy 3 from a team. If they either get a turnover and a good possession and they spot up a 3, or you're seeing some of these spot up 3s that you see from wide open perimeter shooters, and it's just you see, you're seeing that even in the last game, they were getting the 3s to go, and they weren't phenomenally good from 3s, but they were just, it was just, nasty just seeing these kind of 3s go on. So that was just, I wasn't a big fan of that. And then I think just to finish is our digression of the Brampton A's game.
What would you like to talk about the Brampton A game?
I don't know, Francis. You tell me.
Is this the game you like? The one coming up on?
I think it's a pretty big deal, Francis. I think it stands out because we won by 16. We got everything to go. I mean, it was.
Oh, so you want to talk about the school day game then?
Yeah, the school. Okay, the school.
Or yeah, okay. I thought you wanted to talk about our fan appreciation night coming up on the 27th, because we're also playing in Brampton A's then, so hopefully we can repeat that performance. It seems like we are scheduling our big games to play against Brampton. That's just a coincidence, by the way.
That was totally unintended, folks. But seriously, I'm going to repeat this again. Our fan appreciation night, February 27th. Big deal. Come on out. It's going to be really fun. We're going to be tipping off, and it's going to be Thursday at 7 o'clock. Should be a big game, so everybody come out. Bring everybody. And we're going to go to the school day game. Sorry, we got a little bit off topic there.
Yeah, and just to add to that fan appreciation piece, I mean, everyone should come out because there's going to be tons of great prizes there. We got Samsung's going to be there giving away phones. Sony's giving away prize packs. Rogers is giving away credits. Travelodge is giving away night stays. So we've got a whole bunch. Wacky Wings is giving away coupons. So there's definitely tons of chances to win different kinds of prizes.
We are going to blow the lid off the place. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Oh, and of course, Mayor Hazel McCallion is going to be there.
I mean, Hazel McCallion.
Our ward, Bonnie Crombie is going to be there. So
Bonnie Crombie.
We're expecting a packed house.
Jay-Z. We might get Jay-Z, Francis.
We're working on it. Hopefully Jay-Z will make an appearance.
Hopefully Jay-Z will make an appearance. Jay-Z's not going to make it. Anyways, okay. So, we won by 16. 37-23 in the fourth quarter. We were coming together. We had big highlights. Check out our YouTube. We had a crazy off the glass highlight. It was just a fun game. We had 1,400 in the seats, and we just got it to go. And it was weird because, within, a small margin of time, we lost that team by like a 20-point margin. And all of a sudden, here we are just coming at these guys, win by 16.
Which was really fun because
we were just gliding through them.
This has been the opposite of how this season's been going for us. Like usually the fourth quarter is when the team breaks down and starts losing those leads. But it was great to see the guys out there having fun, that lead getting bigger and bigger. It was like a dunk every other possession. So that was definitely one of the funner games to be at.
It felt like an all-star game or Miami Heat energy, to tell you the truth. It really, honestly, it was fun. Like every player was kind of like getting the ball in their hands and like, okay, what am I going to do now? I'm going to take a go at this team. I'm going to cash a three. I'm going to put it up. We were up by around 20, then we finished in the fourth quarter, then we finished around 16. And so I'm going to go into digress into, what we did before. Well, same thing as usual. We had a lot of defensive boards, but I think the big thing that we did as well is, we kept the scoring going, and we did the points in the paint, and then not to only say that, but we also kept the three going. So there was a lot. Oh, and our free throw percentage, our free throws were insane. we got 24 points over them in free throws. So this was a Brampton A's team that was a little flustered. I think they were tangled up a little bit, and they were fouling and trying to really contain us. I think we were just going off. We got the free throws to go. Basically, every end of things was working. So it was a good thing to note, and then that's kind of a thing to hold into our frame of mind going into these next games as to what would make us more of a success. And I think, not to just make the suggestion, but I think to do the Morgan Lewis plan would be a heck of a good idea. And I think that this might tell us a sign that, we could see a win versus the Skyhawks.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, the guys have definitely, after that really depressing 12-game losing streak, the guys have really stepped it up a bit more, and the team's really starting to turn it around, and there's a lot more teamwork now, and we're starting to see it, that they're no longer losing by 15, 20 points. The loss is usually pretty small. And,
no longer losing. Everything's coming around. I really like these new additions to the team. I think the Rocket is going to have a big game this next game on the road. This is basically our walking into the next game. This is basically the end of our podcast. We thank you all for watching. This is the end of our first episode, or listening. Yeah, mainly listening. I don't know how you do watching. Okay, so we thank you guys for coming out. Once again, our next home game, February 20th, we'll be playing at the Hershey Center get your tickets, you can go on our site, powerbasketball.ca, or you can go to Ticketmaster to get your tickets. Great prices, tickets starting at $15. Cheer on your Power. Thanks for listening, folks, and have a great afternoon.
See you at the game.
Keep it classy, Saga.